Dharma's new movie starring Alia Bhatt, Jigra, is out in theatres. The movie is directed by Vasant Bala, who's earlier made Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota and Monica Oh My Darling, both films which I had really liked. The trailer of this movie definitely looked promising and I was quite curious to catch it. So well, let's go ahead and break this movie down. So the movie is basically about siblings Alia Bhatt and Vedang Raina who've lost their parents and have been brought up by their relatives. And the director uses this as a good tool to often show the wall that's been created between family. They show Vedang and his cousin go to a place similar to Singapore. They've actually created a fictitious city over here, but it's on the lines of Singapore. So well, you know what? To make things easier, I'm going to call it Singapore going forward. So basically they're in Singapore for a business deal and some stuff goes wrong, and long story short, the relatives make Vedang the scapegoat and bring the cousin back home scot-free. Now Alia vows to bring him back home no matter what, and the rest of the movie is about that. Starting off, I would like to say Vasant Bala's direction. He really creates a world here and cohesively binds various cinematic elements to create some very powerful scenes and visuals. The movie also is fairly well paced for the most part. The film is actually technically very sound. There is some great cinematography by Swapnil Sonavane. The background music by Achin Thakkar is brilliant and flows seamlessly with the movie and really stirs up emotions in some scenes too. The sound design of the movie is also very good and the movie tries to convey a lot just through sound. The action is slick and believable and the VFX is also very good. Now acting wise, Alia is amazing. She does a splendid job and definitely deserves a nomination for this role. Manoj Pava is brilliant in his role and plays his character very endearingly. Also a special mention to Rahul Ravindran, who plays an Indian settled in the country and does a good job of the mix of the local and Indian accent. And also a special mention to Vivek Gombar, who plays one of the prison guards, shown in a negative role. They show that he's been born and brought up in Singapore and he switches effortlessly between the local language and English with his accent spot on as well. Now speaking of Vedang Raina, I actually was not impressed a lot with his performance. He could have definitely been a lot more emotive, and also I feel he cries weirdly, oftentimes seeming like he's smiling. And just the shakiness and jitters one would have in their body language and their speech if something like this happened to them is missing in his performance. So, seems like a lot going for this movie. Well, let's go ahead and see what's bad. So I would like to start off by pointing out that a good chunk of the movie alternates between English, Hindi and the local language in Singapore. So for the wider audience out there, this film might not come across as massy or entertaining. Also, the action scenes are mainly towards the end. Up until then, there's lots of planning and build up, but I feel if you're going into this expecting a crazy action entertainer, you might be underwhelmed. This movie is more about the emotions than the action. Now, in the movie, they show that Vedang and his cousin are caught with drugs. His cousin has consumed, but Vedang hasn't. They ask Vedang to testify taking ownership of the drugs so his cousin can be released. But I don't know how that would work, as they would anyways drug test the two and they would realize that one is clean and the other isn't. Also, during Vedang's trial, they ask him if he pleads guilty to trafficking drugs and he says yes, whereas he's only supposed to take responsibility for only having consumed the drugs, not trafficking them. There are some similar and minor flaws, but the plot does have a few unrealistic elements as well. For example, they show Alia go all out in this foreign country she's going to for the first time. It's like she knows everything at the back of her mind and has done all this at least 100 times before. Whereas in reality, she's just a business manager for her relatives. You also see her fight with prison guards and beat them up, which is absurd because she has zero training and these are trained prison guards in one of the country's top jails. Also, what I found weird was that Vedang is in jail because of the foul play by his relatives, but the movie ends on her trying to get him out. There's no track whatsoever of the relatives after Vedang is convicted, and I feel there should have been some angle there as she would have wanted to definitely seek revenge against them for their actions. It's just too convenient for her to let it go for the action she ends up taking to save her brother. The film also gets a bit slow towards the end where they build up on too many slow motion shots, but overall it's still okay. And lastly, while the execution of the script is great, the script in itself does not offer anything new or fresh or offbeat. It's a very basic and predictable story, just visualized and executed in a very unique and distinct manner. So well, as I said earlier, the movie is more about emotions and less about the action. So if you want to watch an action entertainer, this one isn't for you. Also, the movie is not for the masses either, given the constant dialogue switches in the different languages. The movie has a sad and hopeful vibe to it with some action towards the end, all executed very well and great from a cinematic standpoint. So if that's up your alley, then do watch it. So on the whole, I would say very good effort by Vasant Bala to execute something on this scale and to execute it so truly. It is by far his highest budget movie and he definitely proves he can handle the scale. As I said in the previous section, the movie isn't for everyone, but I personally could really appreciate it for its many plus points, and for that I'm going ahead with 7 out of 10 on the BMB meter for this one. If you're on the fence, I would say give it a watch. And if you watched it already, then do let me know what you thought of it in the comments. Thanks a lot for stopping by, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Cheers, and I'll see you soon.